Yeah, I'm feeling connected to my higher self. I always seem to find this version when I'm by myself. I had no problem being alone, but they tell me every king needs a throne. But I don't want no fancy chair crown, I want a home. Thought you wanted.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 20th episode of the Julio on Ice podcast. I'm the handsome one, and I'm chilling with the icy one. And Matty Ice, I'm back, baby. I'm back from the motherlands. I know you missed me, but you did a hell of a job without me. How you feeling, baby?
Yes, I was actually happy that when you told me that you were coming back for this episode, and I didn't have to go solo dolo again. It's nice to have you back. It's a lot of pressure when you're solo dolo. So,
hey, you handle the pressure like a champion, man. You know,
because you're the talent. You're the talent. No, I do everything.
I'm else. Listen. I'm 50% of the talent. You're 50% of talent, and you're everything else. It's good to be back, man. Like I said, I went to the motherland. I enjoyed myself. Had to take a little mental recharge. Needed a break. Mm-hmm. Shout out to everyone in Puerto Rico, man. Shout out to all my family. Shout out to all the people that I came across, the good people, the bad people. And you know what, Maddie? I'm just going to keep shouting people out right now because I haven't been on here in a long time, and I just want to shout out people just because. Just because, Maddie, you know it. Shout out to my moms and pops. I love you guys. Shout out to my sisters, my aunts. Shout out to your moms and pops, Jen, Kev. Shout out to Ryan Medeiros. Shout out to Sam Medeiros. Shout out to Skippy. Shout out to everyone in Massachusetts, Westport. I see you, baby. Shout out to everyone in St. Joseph's. Shout out to everyone, baby. That means everyone. James, Philly 5. We see you, baby. Zach Blodgett. Everyone. You know, it's happy. I'm happy. It's summertime. School's out. The sun's out. Guns out. You know, again, I'm feeling handsome. I'm feeling like I'm somebody, Maddie. I got a lot to talk about. We're back on the air, and I'm feeling good. I hope that intro was good for a lot of people. I hope it was
good. It was a lot of energy,
I'm coming with it.
Why don't we just start with the Knicks? Let's just get that off.
We didn't talk about that already.
we didn't talk about how it ended because you weren't there. I don't think you were here before it ended. So what is your now reaction to the experience of the Knicks playoffs this year? Like, you know, because you were really pissed. So I'm assuming you came back down to earth.
I did. And I had you know, obviously I listened to you and Fryer on the last pod. And, you know, Maddie, the only thing I wanted was my guys to be competitive, and they weren't competitive, you know. And I think Stephen A. Smith said it the best. And I don't really like to comment on those guys or skip or any of those guys. But, you know, Julius Randle just isn't the number one option. He never was to me. I knew he never was. And to be honest, I don't even think he's a number two.
It was like fool's gold.
Yeah, it's fool's gold. And I knew that. And I wasn't being unrealistic, and I wasn't trying to be, you know, that guy. I was just obviously excited that we were back in the playoffs, I just thought we were going to put up a better fight.
Yeah,
we couldn't stop Trae Young. You know,
I agree with that. I thought you'd put up I thought it was a good series for you guys to be in. But I will say that being a Celtics fan, it is I don't know. This is weird for me to say, but it is true. When the Knicks are good at basketball, like, it makes the NBA better. When the Knicks are relevant, and it just sucks that the Knicks can't get like a superstar, like just to have like one. It doesn't mean I don't want to see a Knicks win the championship. I'm not saying that, but it's good when the Knicks are relevant for the NBA. And I just don't know. I don't understand, being the New York Knicks, how you can't bring in a superstar, or at least have a drafted young one.
Yeah. And I mean, with Tom Thibodeau being the head coach there, I don't see us getting a superstar and kind of, you know.
Oh, and Dolan
building around and Dolan. I don't feel us building around somebody anytime soon. I think we're gonna get Tom Thibodeau type of guys, which is fine because he plays defense and he has culture guys. But again, you know, we're not going to win with Reggie Bullock playing 35 minutes. We're not going to, you know, we got a lot of young guys on the bench that we're not playing a lot. And I hope in the future that changes. Like Obi Toppin, I thought he played all right. I thought Emmanuel quickly should have played more. You know, I think Taj Gibson, we can start decreasing his minutes. Reggie Bullock, let's decrease his minutes. Let's decrease a lot of guys' minutes. Like, you know, Nerlens Noel, I love your energy, but, you know, we don't need to play you 20, 22 minutes. You know, come in, block some shots.
So you honestly think with the coach and Thibodeau and the ownership that you guys will struggle to bring in like a free agent superstar? You need to draft one, is what you said.
Right. I agree. Yeah, 100%.
Which is crazy to me that it's New York. How do you not? You know,
we just been stapled, man. We're stamped as this organization that's just we're just that organization that people can't trust. You can't trust it. You know what I mean? Because if that was the case, guys would have skipped Brooklyn and came over to New York. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'll be real with you. I was hoping Kyrie and KD went to the Knicks.
Yeah,
I
already
know
knew
why.
they weren't. I knew they weren't,
know.
but we weren't in good shape. We didn't look like we were just a frantic franchise, man. We're just that franchise right now. We're kind of equivalent to. I don't want to say the Jets. I'm not gonna say the Jets. We're probably like the Cowboys, kind of. Maybe.
So I would say, yeah, you have more of a Cowboys feel, like a lot of hype, like fan support's really good, but never win the big game kind of thing, right? That's kind of that's kind of how it is.
And everybody will root for you when we're great, and then when we're bad, we're really bad, you know. And I mean,
that's a good comparison. You're not the Jets. The Jets just are.
The Jets are shitty.
It's just the shitty Jets.
And trust me, I'm not the New York every sport guy. You know, I like my team's the Carolina Panthers.
I like that.
I'm a Panther fan, but also I like the Red Sox. So it's just I bounce around, man. I'm not. I like who I like.
Well, you're also a Connecticut guy, so you kind of have that thing where you could have different teams, you know.
Yeah, and I'm happy about that. I'm gonna go catch some Red Sox games. You know, I'm gonna do some shit. You know, so.
All right, well, let's talk about the real thing. Let's talk about the real thing. Let's tell the people that you started texting me all pissed off.
I wasn't pissed off. You
had something to say.
And you know, those guys over there at BST, you guys all chimed in on it, and you know, some other people. Granted, and I think we're jumping guns here, and we're changing pace. Chris Paul. Fantastic point guard, Hall of Famer, 100% Hall of Famer. But immediately after he had that 17 assist night with no turnovers, the internet went crazy.
Yeah, but that's what happens with everybody. Yeah,
I understand it. Yes, and you know me, I'm in the motherlands, I'm in the islands. You know, so I check my Twitter ever so often, and I saw this, and I just thought in my head, it's a slow news day. It's a slow news day because you know what, CP3 he's been doing that forever. He's been
if you don't dimes. Yeah, if you've never followed his career, I didn't think that made him all of a sudden top 5. I think the reason I've always liked him is I really liked him in the early days when I became a fan of when he was on the New Orleans Hornets.
Remember.
And if you're too young to know what that is, then I'm sorry, but that was when I fell in love with Chris Paul and his game and everything. You know, the Clippers, you know, I still liked them. I didn't love that team. I thought they were kind of flawed, but you know, I thought you made some good argument points. It is tough whenever you start talking about like top 5. I mean, he's in my top 5, and I've told you I'm biased, but that's why I said, you know, when we started listing out our top 5, so mine would be, I think I went Magic, Steph Curry, Isaiah Thomas. I think, like, you know, it's hard for me to say Oscar Robertson, not because he doesn't belong there. It's just hard when I've never really watched his game, and I use the card that I'm too young, and I've never really watched film of him. Obviously, he's an all-time great. So, you know, maybe in my top 5, he wouldn't be there. So maybe I would go with like I'd probably go John Stockton. And then at 5, like me, this is where we disagreed, because you have J Kidd in yours, and I respect J Kidd, but I just think Chris Paul has to be in my top 5 just because he's one of my favorite point guards that I grew up watching. But like I could see the argument for that. But when you said Westbrook, no.
But
sorry.
I know, and I guess to your point too about not being able to see certain people play, I think that has to really be put out there. Because I think if you don't put Magic Johnson in your top 5, I think people will just kill you. I think people would just. You know, how could
he has to?
He has to, and we haven't seen him play. So I mean, I haven't seen Magic play in his prime.
I mean, you saw a film though.
We saw a film, of course.
I don't really see film of Oscar Robertson. Is what I'm saying. No. I've seen legit. You know, I watched those Lakers Celtics games from back in the day. Like my dad showed me him, or you know, I saw him on TV. Like I've seen him play. Like he has to be top 5. Like that's just. And anybody that, like, some people, I feel like someone said to me something about, like, oh, you really think Steph Curry, like, you consider him a point guard? I'm like, well, what?
Who said that? Who said that?
Would he be? I forgot who said it.
Who bring him up? So I want to talk to him because that's I have it in my notes here. I just want to.
Well, I've heard you on the record say you think Steph Curry is the best point guard of all time, and I honestly, I'd almost agree. Like he's the best shooter of all time.
Yeah.
It goes back to the philosophy that I think you brought up about, like you said, you had a hot take, like you take Rondo over Chris Paul or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to that philosophy of what you want in a point guard. Like you say, he's for some reason, I feel like Chris Paul is a true point guard. He can score, obviously, but like, you made some points of why you think other people are more true points. Like, I wouldn't consider Russell Westbrook a true point guard. Yeah, he averages triple doubles and stuff, but like I said, I don't think he's not a passer like Chris Paul, Magic Johnson, Jay Kidd. Like, those dudes threw dimes.
I know. And hear me out for a second, because I don't want to lose my train of thought before I go on a little just like blunder of just thoughts, because this is what I do on the pod. I just yell shit out. So guys who are listening, first time listeners, last time listeners, this is what I do. I just talk. And again, these are just our own opinions. We're not saying this is concrete. We're not trying to be guys on First Take and all those other shows.
We're healthy.
Just here.
We have healthy debates.
I write down stuff. I try to put myself in, positions where, I'm being logical to both sides, because I haven't seen Oscar Robertson play and I haven't seen Magic Johnson play. I seen John Stockton play, obviously, because I've watched hoops since I was 5, but I didn't understand at the time how much of an importance he was to the game. Okay. But hear this out. Okay. We talked about it, right? What's a point guard? All right. Is it the one that's labeled on the stat sheet, right? There's point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center. That's how it goes, right? Are we talking about that? Or are we going about scoring point guard, pure point guard, defensive-minded point guard? Are we doing it like that? Because if we're just talking about point guards being labeled as a point guard,
because you could have LeBron in the top 5.
No, I agree. When in all reality, LeBron came in as a small forward.
No, and he's not. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, the way you're describing that, you have to. When we have this debate, I'm talking about like legit point guard, not what you're playing. What you're labeled. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, I guess that would kind of defeat the purpose of my list, because I'm just going off of that. I'm just going off of what did you came into the league as, what you were known as, and what usually your other matchup is. Because LeBron is probably one of 5 or 6 guys who's playing the 3, who's guarding the 1s. You know what I mean? Like it's. Or whoever's playing the 3, whoever's, Ben Simmons is guarding the 3 and 4, and he's a point guard. You feel what I'm saying? It changes. But I'm just saying, in my mind, my list is point guard. You're labeled as a point guard. Okay. My top 5. Magic Johnson. Popular opinion. Okay. Pioneer. Is he the best of all time? Magic Johnson. Who knows? That's my popular opinion, and that's the only popular opinion. Okay. Because I'm not putting Oscar Robertson in here. I'm just not. Russell, this is not in order. Russell Westbrook. Okay. I think he scratches off Oscar Robertson just because if Russell Westbrook played in the 1960s.
Yeah, but you can't start doing that.
All right. Why not? But that's what we're doing, because you know what?
No, because it's just the same argument. People tell me, well, if LeBron played in the 90s, he would, be better than Michael Jordan. I'm like,
but why can't we do that? Why?
Because it's apples and oranges.
I get that.
Because
but we're talking about the best of all time.
I know, but the league's different. You can't, like, people when I talk to young people, they don't realize when they go, well, something in the LeBron MJ argument. I was like, you understand, like, when MJ played, there was no bullshit defensive 3 seconds. Like, people were in the lane and they fouled the shit out of you. Nowadays, you get hit in the fucking, shoulder, it's a flagrant 6. And you're suspended and taken to jail. Like, it's a way different played game. Like, you earn points going to the rim. In today's league, there's nobody in the lane. It's wide open. And if you do get hit hard, they're at the TV monitors seeing if you should be arrested and thrown in jail. So
soft.
I hate the putting. I don't know if you can compare eras. You just have to go off of how that dude played in that era. Because Larry Bird could play. I could argue that he could play in this era, and then people would be like, well, he's not athletic enough. He doesn't dunk and all this stuff. But I'm like, well, the skill level's, just as good.
I agree.
So
I just always do that because, like I said, I think when people just put people in the top 5 categories just because of their resume during that time, it's hard for me not to it's just hard for me not to like compare. It's hard for anyone not to compare, and I won't do that. I guess I'll just go off of, it is hard because personally, and I've said this to everybody at St. Joe's when we had the New Nation tournament 2 years ago, they said that John Stockton was the best point guard of all time. And I said, can John Stockton guard De'Aaron Fox? Who was John Stockton guarding in the 90s?
You know what? When people
Ron Harper. Who else? Kevin Johnson. Like he's not playing John Morant every day, bro. He's not playing Russ, not playing John Wall. He's not playing Kyrie. He's not playing Kemba. He's not playing these guys, Maddie.
Well, that's the people who say that. I think John Stockton is a top 5 point guard of all time. I think that. But people that say he's the best of all time, their argument will probably be that he's the all-time leading assist, which is, of course, amazing. But he played with Karl Malone. So, I mean, I'd be up there too if I played with Karl Malone. But
100%.
I'm not going to take that away from him. But what I was going to say is that, like, you could say, okay, well, if Kareem's the best player of all time because he scored the most points. But, like, that's just not – if you have a basketball mind, to me, it's easy to say – MJ is the best of all time. And I could see the people that want to argue LeBron. I'll never respect that opinion because I just think it's flawed. But it's more about, it's not all about stats, right? It's about the eye test. It's about watching who dominated in their era, right?
Okay.
Because that's the people that argue against MJ is who was guarding MJ. They didn't have like LeBron guarding MJ. I'm sorry. If LeBron guarded MJ would score 40 whenever he wanted anyway, because that dude's just a killer, So it's a flawed argument when you start looking right at stats. So I agree with you that I wouldn't say John Stockton is the best point guard of all time just because of assists, but he's definitely in the top 5.
Okay. All right. So
pure point. Pure point.
And again, I don't have like the pure point separated from the scoring points. I just kind of have who I think should be considered. Yeah. And then it's all going to come full circle to talk about why CP is not in it.
Okay.
Magic Johnson, popular opinion, number 1. Not in order, I'm just giving you 5. I put Russell Westbrook. I put Jason Kidd. I put Steph Curry. And then on number 5, I have either Isaiah Thomas from Detroit, John Stockton, ? Steve Nash, back-to-back MVPs, who doesn't get talked about enough.
But one of those MVPs is bullshit.
I know, but it doesn't matter.
Kobe should have gotten MVP.
Men, women lie. Numbers don't lie. And then maybe Chris Paul. So Chris Paul is on the 4th string on the 5th slot of my top 5.
Yeah,
because, like I said, he didn't win. He doesn't. He didn't win.
Nash.
He's injured. All right, but he doesn't when he's supposed to be a point guard. And don't tell me he hasn't had the teams growing up. Okay,
I never said he didn't have teams.
That Clippers team should have won at least one. No, you know what, Maddie, and this is why. You gave him everything you wanted. CP in his prime you gave him everything.
No, you did not.
You gave him a big to set screens and dunk. You gave him a power forward who was in his prime, Blake Griffin.
Yeah, but
you gave him a shooter in JJ Redick, and then you gave him a guy.
You're forgetting
Jamal
something.
Crawford.
You're forgetting something.
What?
What do you need to win in this era of NBA basketball?
Point guard.
No.
What? A dominant guy?
In this era? No. Maybe back in the 90s and the 80s.
What do you need? Tell me what you need.
Oh, a dominant wing. They didn't have a dominant wing.
But this is a point guard, right? He didn't even get to the conference finals with the Clippers. He didn't even get to the finals, Maddie. He didn't get anywhere. He just kept losing.
The team was flawed, dude. That's why I just said that.
But you gave him everything because this is why, and this is the reason why. And again, I hope he doesn't listen to this because I love CP. I think he's amazing. I'm always going to love him. But CP has... He has the persona as if he's supposed to be getting the LeBron James treatment.
I agree with that.
He's making it seem like he's supposed to be getting all this stuff when in all reality, we gave you your team. We gave you everything you needed because in all reality, he's just a guy who dominates the basketball, Maddie. He dribbles. He likes to go ISO basketball at times. But with that Clippers team, you gave him 2 guys who are going to set screens for him. You gave him an ISO guy in Jamal Crawford. And you gave a guy who could hit consistent open perimeter jump shots in JJ Redick. You gave him everything you needed to be like CP. This is your team. Go win us the championship. And he didn't do it. That's why he started.
And who did he lose to?
Who did he lose to those years?
I think that arguably the best point guard of all time.
Steph Curry.
Yeah.
on a consistent basis, though. Who was he? They were losing.
I'm pretty sure
in the
they
second
lost.
round.
We
gotta
can't
look it up.
Ah, man, I can't. I know one year they lost to them.
They were having tough years with them. I think that one year they lost to the Memphis Grizzlies with Mike Conley and those guys. I don't know. That's the thing with me with CP. CP, they put CP on this pedestal where, you know, he is great. He did all these wonderful things. He's got gold medals. He played with, you know, great people, great teams. He just never gets it done. He never got it done. Jason Kidd went to the finals 3 times, 2 times with the Nets. And Maddie, you know I texted you the roster of those Nets guys. Todd McCullough was on that roster. Kenyon Martin was on that roster. Richard Jefferson was on. Lucius Harris was on. People don't even remember Lucius. He had goggles.
Yeah, but like
He had got
the only thing
Aaron Williams was on that roster. Jason Collins was guarding Shaq on that roster. Jason Collins.
Bro, they got absolutely destroyed.
Of
by the Lakers.
course.
So
We're
they
talking
should.
about he went to the finals 3 times. He's got a championship in the finals. He's got all these triple doubles. He's first team all league.
This
He's
is why.
all
This is
defensive
why.
guy.
This is why I said I can listen to this argument about J.
That's what I'm
Kidd.
saying. But people are like overlooking that. Like, oh,
No.
he, you know, when he played with Dallas. When he played with Dallas, he was
Yeah, but he
38
was.
years old.
Yeah, he was done at. No, he brought a shitty team to the finals twice. So
Tom McCullough was on that roster.
bro. I mean, I think you are like Richard Jefferson annoys me now, but Richard Jefferson was a hooper. At least in that point. And
He
Kenyon
was
Martin,
young though. Yeah.
and Kenyon Martin was just a crazy man. But
Block shots, dunk. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like Jason Kidd,
J Kidd was no, but J Kidd was the number 1 on that team and brought his team to the finals. Chris Paul will never be a number 1. Like if the Suns get to the finals, Devin Booker's that dude. So I can understand that argument. That's why I said I would listen to this argument. I'm just biased at the end of the day. I've liked Chris Paul since he was on the New Orleans Hornets. So
yeah,
I'll just always go with that. But like, I get the argument's very valid. So and everything I stand for, I should lean to J Kidd because he's been to the finals. He was a number 1 on the team. Chris Paul will never be a number 1 on a team to bring them to the finals. He's never done it.
But he wanted to be a number 1. When he was with the Clippers, he was like, give me my team, and they gave him his team. He just never got it done. That's the
I do
reason
wonder
why.
if Stern let him go to the Lakers, would they have won? Remember when they vetoed that thing?
Yeah, I remember.
Because that's why he ended up going to the Clippers. Him and Kobe? No.
That would be nice. That would be nice. But again, it's just I don't think it would work.
Yeah.
It didn't work with him and James Harden. I'm not saying that James Harden and Kobe are the same.
It almost did. But he injury prone. Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. He's definitely snake bitten with that. But I don't know,
Maddie.
It's a good argument. It's a good argument, and I respect your opinion. That's why I said I can hear that. I just don't the Westbrook thing. I'll never look at him as a pure point. I think he's just like
who's your top 5 then? Give me your top 5.
I think my top. I said it. It's Magic. No order. Magic, Curry, Stockton. I lost my track. I think Isaiah Thomas has to be in the top. I think he's a prick, but I think he's easily a top 5 point guard of all time. And then I would put either Chris Paul or Jason Kidd. And with your argument, I would probably swing Jason Kidd because it's everything I believe in. And then Chris Paul would be right 5B.
Anytime you put Jason Kidd in there, just think Todd McCullough. He took Todd McCullough. Jason Collins. I could be wrong about the Todd McCullough. It might be just Jason Collins, but that team was atrocious. That team
what about a little Darren Williams? I love that
Darren was
nasty.
Him. He was nasty. He had a stretch. Then he went bald, and then things got a little crazy. You know,
and then Carlos Boozer was spraying his hair.
I love Darren Williams, but he was one of my favorites. One of my favorites.
Illinois. Love that team.
But great argument.
I love debating with people that have knowledge. So I always debate with you. That's why I don't debate with other people because they're dumb.
But the only reason I'm passionate about that is because it's the point guard position. And I happen to watch a lot of Jason. And because when I was young, I watched the Yes Network. That's where the Nets were playing. And then I watched the MSG Network because that's where the Knicks were playing. So I was always going back and forth watching Stephon Marbury just throw the damn Knicks into the damn gutter because they were terrible. And then go back and watch the Nets play.
The one argument I don't like is like Nash. I don't like the Nash argument. I'm not saying Nash isn't a great point guard, but I hated him defensively. At least Chris Paul and J. Kidd could play D. They could guard. He couldn't guard, and I'll always be bitter about him winning MVP over Kobe. That was bullshit. There's no way Kobe Bryant should have been the MVP of the league once. That's crazy.
Shaq thought he should have won it too. Shaq was saying that he should have won
it. And then you know how you said at the beginning, I don't really take what these, but they were arguing yesterday. First take, I was listening. I saw this clip, so I had to watch it. Stephen A. was saying that Shaq was never the best player in the NBA during his era.
Stephen A. said Shaq was never the best player.
Correct. And this is why this show like drives me nuts, because they pick and choose. So he was saying he was never the best player, but he was the most dominant. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? Oh, because he wasn't the most skilled?
What's the criteria?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what they were literally arguing about. And that's why these shows I don't know how people I listened to the thing for about a minute and a half and I said, okay, this is dumb. So Max is arguing that he was the best player. Stephen A is saying he wasn't the best player, but he was the most dominant.
Because he wasn't the most skilled.
Correct.
That's dumb.
So what? If you're the most dominant, that means you're the best player. No? Didn't you win 3 times in a row? You're the finals MVP 3 times, even though he should have only been twice. But that's crazy. I mean, that's just picking and choosing what you're arguing about. I mean, the dude was easily the best player in the NBA.
Easily, by far. You know, he had, I think it was like, what, 8-9 year stretch rate. If you're the most dominant, you're the best. You're the best, regardless of how you play the game. Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? Most skilled? If we're having that argument, then Jesus.
That's just another way for people to kind of just stir the pot, and that's what they do. I know you see the Giannis isolation, clip about Giannis, and I have a lot to say about that too, because people were calling him the most. I mean, you said it here, like he's just not that guy. But that isolation.
Oh my God! Did you see that? Griffin, did you see that? Was that AAU?
But if I seen that anywhere, I would be yelling in the back, give it up, bro, give it up. Like he went in, let me back up, let me work on my stuff.
Bro, all I'm saying is I like his attitude in the sense of like he didn't want to join our team. He stayed in Milwaukee. I'm not going to poo-poo that, but Lord have mercy. If anybody tries to tell me that dude is like in the end, like people are saying when he won MVP and all defender, like, oh yeah, only like Michael Jordan's. It's like, yo, they're not even the same breath, bro. That dude is to me so exposed because Kevin Durant is 100 times better than Giannis. Like they're not even on the same level. Don't even tell me that Giannis and KD are like close in skill and talent. No. That dude has no game. He has no game. He only can drive to the basket and dunk. He has no jump shot. He tries to do turnaround jumpers. That shit is ugly. Like, damn, bro. Like he's a freak, and that's really it. And now as much as I hated James Harden for saying it, like James Harden ain't wrong when he was saying when Giannis won the MVP. Like he got no skill, bro.
Yeah,
he got no skill.
People just don't want to get ran over by him. People don't want to get dunked on him. That's it.
And the rules are different, Yeah. Play that going to the rim when you play in the 90s. I don't care how freak you are. Charles Oakley would put you on your ass.
Dennis Rodman ain't having that. Hell no. Not after a night in Vegas. He ain't doing that. I mean, the game is like everything in the world today. So it's compact with just marshmallows around it. Like we see Giannis, we see his body, we see what he looks like, we see what he does in transition.
We see stats.
Like, we're just like we're just like infatuated by instant gratification. That's like you see Giannis, that's instant gratification of like, okay, he looks crazy, like he looks amazing, and I don't know. It's today's society. It's today's society, Maddie, and I'm glad we can have conversations about that stuff because we're being logical. And I think talking about the point guard position is it's like I was saying, it's sensitive, but it's a thought out process because we can talk about it for hours and hours and then because is it a pure point? Is it a scoring point? Is it, like I said, defensive minded point? It's what the world wants it to be. It's like, okay, he's a wing, but is he a wing because he only plays in the mid range? He doesn't shoot threes. It's like he's a wing. That's the position that you're playing. Like, period. You know what I mean? Who knows? We're our own pod. We kind of make up the rules here on what we talk about, but we could keep talking about that, but we're gonna move on. Today's guest is a Maddie, she's from Massachusetts, so I feel
Mass
like
product.
I think this pod should just be called Massachusetts Products. Kristen McDonnell, who's currently the Norwood boys basketball coach, has a great story. Went to coached at Braintree, where she won 4 Division I state championships, with a record of 211-32. Has a great story about how she transitioned from the girls' game to coaching boys basketball at the high school level. So I'm interested in that. I'm interested in hearing her story. I think her story is very inspiring. What's this number? Our second female guest on here, or is this our
I
third?
believe so.
We had Sarah, who just recently got a new gig. Didn't Sarah just get a new gig? She just she got hired. Your boy from UMass Dartmouth told me about that. I forgot where she just got hired at a nice position, assistant position. You didn't see that?
No.
All right. Before we get off the air, we gotta make sure we show Sarah Asante, our Monk alum, some love here. Hopefully, she's listening on a consistent basis. Hold on. I don't want to forget this. She's at Dartmouth. She's an assistant coach at Dartmouth.
Not UMass Dartmouth. Dartmouth.
Nah, just Dartmouth.
Yeah. So that's a pretty awesome job.
Yeah. So congratulations to Sarah, where she got the assistant gig over there. I'm excited for her. But yeah, our second female guest, Kristen McDonnell. So I hope you guys enjoy this interview. Let's get to it. Joining us live now is Kristen McDonnell. Kristen McDonnell is from Roxbury, Massachusetts. All right, I'm a little dyslexic.
You're Connecticut. Yeah, Connecticut guy. You don't know.
That's all right. Played at Boston Latin High School. Maddie gave me some information on that. Then went on to Stonehill, where she became a 1,000-point scorer. And then shortly after that, at Braintree, she won 7 sectional titles and 4 Division I state titles, ending her Braintree coaching career at 211-32. She's now currently the boys basketball coach at Norwood High School. Kristen McDonnell, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
How was the introduction before Maddie gets into the whole thing? Was that all right?
Do we
want? That was good. Yeah.
You're not good at the town names yet. The city names.
I'm a little dyslexic. It's all right. We gotta make it work.
That one hurt a little bit. It's West Roxbury. Just sound it out if you.
Well, I guess I want to start off. Everybody, if you research your name, and a lot of it's about coaching, and obviously, you're clearly a really good coach, whether it's girls or boys basketball. So I kind of want to know more about the player, because people might not know that you had a great playing career as well. So you're from West Roxbury. You played at Boston Latin, and I actually kind of gotten to know Boston Latin a little bit more over when I was at North Andover, because we've played them. What is Boston Latin High School the same when you were growing up as it is now? In the sense, like I'm pretty sure someone told me this, I could be wrong, that you have to test your way into it. Is that true?
Yeah. It's one of like the 3 exam schools in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no idea how I got in, but I managed to sneak in there or something. But what's cool about it is it goes from 7th to 12th grade. So in a good way, it skips over those awkward middle school years. Like you kind of just know your place the whole time you're there, and you can play varsity basketball your whole time. So you can play from 7th grade on.
Wow.
And so I lucked out because it was 6 years. I had suffered 2 ACL injuries for 2 of the years. So I still was able to get 4 years in, which was pretty cool. So that was awesome. It's like a big time academic school, but for some reason, it's always been able to still be like pretty good athletically, which is awesome. And the best part of it was that it was like the most diverse school, so you were getting people, it was all over the city. My friends were from like Southie, Mattapan, Dorchester, like you name it. And we were all over the place. And that was I thought that was the coolest part of it.
What high school would you have gone to if you went in West Roxbury? Like if you were just going to your local high school, what is it?
Well, that's kind of the problem. Like they don't have a local, it's not neighborhood placement. It's so you kind of get put in a whole system. So you could go to English, Burke. It was called Brooks Academy, which is like the old Westie High. But it wasn't like West Roxbury kids went to West Roxbury High. So I think that was the unattraction of it all was that you were hoping to get into either Latin Academy, or O'Brien is another exam school.
Yeah, I was trying to explain to Julio in Massachusetts basketball why when you're a public school coach, why if you don't, if you're in a small town, like I grew up in Westport, so we're a small school, but we ended up playing Cathedral all the time. And I was trying to explain to him how sometimes that was unfair because you're playing, it's Westport's your town, your small town players playing against Cathedral where they could have kids from all over the city. So it's definitely a challenge competitively in that sense.
Totally. And we didn't play in the city league. We played in dual county league. So every game we were heading out to, Lincoln, Sudbury, Acton, Boxborough, Concord, all these like ridiculously nice neighborhoods with great facilities. And these poor people had to come to our neighborhood, which was just so very, really nice school, but definitely not the same as if you're heading to one of those places.
So what out of Boston Latin, what was your recruiting process? Because for everybody that doesn't know, you went to Stonehill, and I'm assuming you got a full ride.
Yep. Yeah.
So how did that work? How did that go? That recruiting process.
I had some really untimely knee injuries. So I actually probably the biggest message to any kid recruiting is to never burn bridges. Because initially I thought like Division I, I was getting pretty well recruited around the country for D1 schools. And I had tore my ACL junior year, which as you guys know is like a huge recruiting year. So I had a lot of interest going into my sophomore year because I had just had 4 years of varsity basketball, or three and a half years. And then I tore it. So I missed most of my junior year. And so schools, little by little, knowing it was my second ACL and I had like a meniscus tear right after it, kind of fell off, started to kind of one by one fall off the radar. And Stonehill, to their credit, just stuck around. They just kept coming. And my brother had played at Stonehill. And so they were amazing. It was ended up being the best fit for me. And I think that's the biggest message is go to wherever the best fit is. Who cares about the level? If you're going to be able to get time right away, potentially, and if you're going to a winning program, go for it. So it was great. I absolutely love it there.
It's refreshing, Julio. That's kind of the message we always have on this pod is that it's about fit. It's about making the best of your opportunities. Because after 4 years, for most, I don't even know what the percentage is, how many go play professionally, but it's very, very small. So you got to make the most of your time because eventually the ball stops bouncing for players. So
exactly.
Did you, Kristen? So after Stonehill, did you find the passion in coaching while you were there? Did you want to coach in college, or did you kind of just finish college and you wanted to get back home and start your career, and then college coaching just came?
Yeah, I actually stayed at Stonehill 2 years and was the coach there. One of the assistant coaches. I was obsessed with it. I'm still a walking advertisement for that school. I think it's the greatest place out there. But it was great. I loved it. I made nothing. So back in the day, if you were a second assistant, I think I made $500 a month. And how do you live on that? And you put in crazy hours, breaking down film and recruiting and all the other stuff. So at the time, I think I was just I can't keep this up as a cost of living. And I was at an intersection where I was all right, do I go completely into the college piece or do I go back and get my master's in school counseling? And so I decided to at least kind of get something in my pocket with that master's so that just in case I needed it. And then one thing just led to another that way.
Did they offer you the master, to pay for your master and all that?
No, they didn't. They don't have master's they do now. They didn't at the time. So it was truly just the $500.
And you're still advertising for them. Stop advertising for them.
Right? That's what I'm saying. I'm but now, right? Then I find out a few years later, after I left, it's pretty good money. At least it's well worth your time. I don't know what happened. But at the time I was offered something at Georgetown. It was probably their fifth assistant job, but they give you a car. And so I was oh, this is great. I'm 24 years old. So I was going to go down to Georgetown, be there, probably fifth assistant, whatever it was, fourth or fifth. And, but then they just don't again, it was they don't really pay you. They give you this car and really all you're doing is out driving.
Recruiting.
You're just living out of your car. So I was I don't know if I can commit to this for the short term. So, ended up going a different way.
Which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Like if you want to be a college coach, that's literally what you would probably have had to done for at least another 2-3 years.
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah, you just have to suck it up and do it. And honestly, like looking back, I probably should have just gone with it and see where it got me. But I didn't have any money. I was so sick of living at home and kind of taking everything from my parents. You know what I mean? Like getting $5 there from him, $5 here. So
it's a tough decision that you got to make because you want to put your passion, forward. You want to work on your passion, but then again, you have to kind of face reality in the face, and not having any money isn't fun.
It's not fun. No. And that's the thing. It's the insecurity, right? Like you could put in all this time and everything. And I didn't know you didn't know what was going to happen with it. And the other part was at the time, I didn't love the recruiting. Like the idea of, I felt like I was babysitting kids in a gym that I don't think even appreciated it at the time. So I was getting like bitter about some of the kids I was like having to follow around. And so it just wasn't the right fit for me at that time. Now I'm like, ooh, like that seems like it would be a pretty fun jump, but at the time it just wasn't right.
Before we go down the coaching kind of path that you went on, playing it back to Stonehill. I actually played at Stonehill one time during high school, and it's an awesome atmosphere if anybody's never been to Stonehill. And I'm assuming it was the same because I think I played in 2007 there. It was like a South sectional game. So was it the same gym?
Same gym, yeah. Like just big enough, but just small enough to still look packed. And
and it's so loud. What are some memories that you have for playing at Stonehill? Ooh, someone's angry.
Sounds like a Doberman.
Yeah, we get a couple. Sorry.
No, you're good.
No, you're good. We're not editing this, by the way. We're gonna keep this is raw material.
It's real. I like it. Sorry. So what were you saying?
Yeah, I was saying, do you have any like favorite memories from Stonehill? Like what's your?
Yeah, my number one favorite was my senior year. We made it to the Sweet 16 of the NCAA, and that was like the coolest thing ever. We had been like 500 my first couple of years. Yeah, it was just an awesome ride. Like it was unexpected. We ended up beating some teams we weren't supposed to, so it was pretty cool.
Was the NE10 as competitive as it is now? Some people say that the NE10 is probably like the ACC or the Big East of Division II. Was it still that?
Yeah, we were lucky. It really was. It was always like us and Bentley were always going at it. We're our rival forever, and then it was great because we would go off to tournaments like all over the country and play another D2, like big time D2 teams, and we were able to either hang with them, beat them, so you knew we were in a really good league. I think the big thing was we stole a lot of Division I players in the Northeast 10, and I think that still happens.
How long from you leaving Stonehill coaching, then was Braintree the first opportunity you got girls basketball as a job?
I was an assistant at Bridgewater Raynham for about 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when I was doing like my internship there and my work, my student teaching as like a guidance counselor.
Mm-hmm.
And then was there. It was awesome. Loved being an assistant, and actually never even felt like I was like wanted to be a head coach at the time, just because I loved, if you guys have been assistants, like being able to break down the game so much more from a seated position. And I love that, looking at matchups even more in-depthly during games and stuff. And then just kind of threw my name in a hat in Braintree after 3 years, was like, all right, well, we'll see what happens. And if they think I'm ready for it, then we'll give it a shot. And it, ultimately worked out.
It's a steal. It's a steal knowing that you have somebody who played at, scholarship level and then, Sweet 16 appearance. I don't think you throwing your name in the hat is a good way to say it. I think the hat was yours.
Well, thank you, but you never know. It's funny. You know
don't.
what I mean? Without head coaching experience, and the funny thing too is you never realize when you become a head coach, like what is going to go into it. Like you're just thinking about the games and the practices. And so that first year, just in terms of like, oh my God, like you're running pretty much helping with the youth program, you're running fundraising, you're dealing with families, sub-varsity programs, like summer league, fall leagues, like it's just all encompassing, which I loved. It just, I didn't realize how much was going to be a part of it. So it was awesome.
Yeah, I think that definitely is the huge step being an assistant. I mean, not saying assistant coaches don't put in time and all that, but yeah, there's so much more that goes into it when you're a head coach, and you definitely have to love it. That is for sure. So did you know anything about the Braintree program before you took the job in that sense? Because like I only know Braintree High School again, which is weird. I played another sectional final game in Braintree High School, and that's the only thing I know about Braintree High. Again, great atmosphere. It's like it's one of those small, big enough gyms, but small. It's like almost like Stonehill.
Yeah, where'd you play?
I played at Westport High School, small.
Westport, that's right.
Small Division IV school, but we played our South sectional games. I think one was at Stonehill, one was at Braintree, and then one was at UMass Boston. But yeah, I thought Braintree was definitely another atmosphere. I was like, wow, this is pretty awesome.
Yeah, we were lucky too. We had like huge crowds for our games and stuff. It was pretty awesome. I had known the only thing I really knew about Braintree was when I was playing at Latin. It was just they were always so good. We had scrimmaged them I think a couple times, and they were always like beasts within the Division I basketball ranks for girls basketball. And then I think they had a little bit of a dive, kind of came down a little, and then when I took it over, they were like 3-17 the year before. But what I had seen of them, I thought like they actually had some pretty good talent and potential. But yeah, I had no idea. Again, it was.
How many years into coaching did you win your first state championship?
I think it was my 4th year in.
Yeah, so that's pretty quick success as a coach. How is it like handling that success as like, you know, the balance of just the team atmosphere? Because I'm assuming you had players come back and then you win one, and then as a coach, you know, what do you come into that next year? I always think that's interesting, like how, you know, some people are always like, oh, it's about, you know, the next season. Because my grandfather, I don't know if you know him, but Skip Karam, if you ever heard that name.
Oh yeah.
So that's my grandfather, and I always thought it was
legend. Yeah.
So I always thought it was interesting asking him, like, because the way he describes it is that, you know, after you win a state championship, he felt like the pressure was off his back, but only for a small moment in time, because when next year starts, it's a whole new year, and the pressure is just right back on. Did you feel that?
You retire, Maddie. Go ahead, Kristen. Sorry. You have to retire after you win.
I debated it. I was like, is this it? No, it's funny. Like, you guys know as coaches, you just like change the philosophy on the kids. Like the first year we got it, it was like, be the underdog. We want to be the underdog. We're coming in here, and everything was about like, you know, beating Goliath and all of this stuff. And then all of a sudden we became Goliath, and it was like, pressure is a privilege. Being an underdog stinks. You know, whoever wants to be an underdog, like this is the best thing that you can get. And so it's totally just like reframing what your mentality is going into that next season. So like our kids, like the thing I loved about them is that they would walk into gyms and just know like that they were, or like expect like, okay, this is just what we do now. We just win. And it takes a while to get a program to that point, because I'm kind of in the process of trying that with Norwood too, like where you can, you want to celebrate every win, but it's like, this is just what we do, you know, and then we go to the next one, next one until like ultimately something pretty special happens, you know?
Well, and obviously in 2015, you must have done that a lot. You guys are 25-0 and, you know, considered one of the best girls basketball team maybe ever. So how like, what are your speeches in the locker room to keep people focused? It's almost like that Bill Belichick thing when they almost did it. Like how do you motivate, or how do you keep kids like, you know, within, I don't know what the correct words are, because remember that dude that got Creighton guy? I don't want to say that word.
Oh yeah.
But how do you keep kids focused on the next game or that practice? Like, I feel like that's really hard.
Yeah, I think like I was really lucky. Like the kids that came in, I mean, it was ridiculous. Like the talent we had for that year, especially, where we had 5 future Division I players on the court at the same time. Like we had like a 6'1" point guard. I mean, just ridiculous stuff. So for us, it was like we played games within games. So we would have what we would do, because a lot of the games might have been lopsided just because of the talent we had. We would create these like systems where I would break up 5 kids and 5 kids, and you would get like during the games, you'd get +1 for every shot you took with only 10 seconds left, but you moved the ball really well and, made a great play at the end. Or you get minus for turnovers or minus for fouls. And then at the end, we actually had it so like those two, our own team was trying to beat the other team. So it was like pretty fun. So then it made it interesting in terms of like each game and I think push the kids to like understand the principles we were trying to get across a little bit more. So then when it came time for those bigger games, they were hopefully a little bit more prepared.
Can I just to go off that, because I thought that was very interesting. When you were beating teams, lopsided games, how much did you actually play? Did you play like normal? Like you didn't slow it down? I mean, not slow it down, but like you didn't make it, you got to pass 12 times before you shoot kind of stuff. You didn't do that stuff, right?
No, she definitely didn't. I feel it. She didn't.
No, she didn't do it.
I did. I did slow it down. Yeah, because at times, like, it was just going to be so out of control that if we just went and went and went. But I always felt like we still were able to work on enough stuff.
Okay,
whether it was, and that's the cool thing. Like, I don't think kids do an awesome job with cuts, right? Like just making reads and cuts to the basket and getting backdoor looks and things like that. So we would say like this time down, you can only get a backdoor shot, or you can only get one where you're coming off and curling a screen, or you can only, and so the kids had to look at that and be like, how am I going to set up my defender? How am I going to do this so I can make sure I get that shot off? And I think it allowed them to like think of the game more, where before it just kind of came and they went through it. I truly believe they just got better within their own games. But yeah, it was crazy at times. Like, yeah. But I've been on the other side of that now. So I'm like, you know what I mean? I appreciate when people slow it down on us a little bit now. So yeah, I get it.
I think it's, before you go, I just think it's like it's an interesting thought, because I've definitely been on both sides coaching, but it's also when I'm on the side that's winning, I always like what your point is that you want to get something out of it. And you also don't want to make an embarrassment of the game. So I usually like just tell kids like, we're obviously not going to fast break. If you steal the ball, defensive rebound, we'll walk it up, but then we're going to play basketball and try to score, because if not, then I feel it makes it worse for the other team.
Exactly. And it's almost like more classless if you make it so that, and the hard part we had was we were a pretty intense, like man-to-man team. So yes, we could move it back half court pretty quickly. But that was the thing I wasn't going to change. Like I was not going to sit them back in a zone that we had no idea how to play. So we might steal the ball every possession, but at least we would then slow it down, maybe not jack threes, move the ball, shoot within like, under at least 10 seconds left on the shot clock, that kind of stuff. But it was almost like it was like you had to design a whole different game for yourself during a game of like what to do and not look like an absolute ass to the to the other team, like that. It was
It's difficult. It's really difficult to kind of balance that out, especially if you're a really good team. Not stealing it and all that stuff is right, but a part of it is to blame on the other team too, because maybe you guys should do a little bit more player development and not turn the ball over as much. And maybe you guys should try to put the ball in the basket a little bit more, I mean, it's high school basketball. It's competitive basketball. It's the most competitive basketball in the high school, region. So I just think that, I don't know, a part of it is your responsibility not to run up the score, but also it's a part of the other team's responsibility not to, I don't know, lose by 50 or 60.
And my big thing was with other teams was like, and most did, but it was the ones that wouldn't switch anything. I'm like, try different stuff. Like if you're down, and I've been in this position now where if we're down, it's like, why not try this zone? Why not try this press? Why not, like double team this and let this kid be open and be awkward about being open, or, anything to mix it up. So the only time I would get frustrated with is when it was like the exact same style of basketball for the entire game. And if we were killing you in it, like, why are you not adjusting to something? Like,
and to go off your point, I think that just shows that at least when I started coaching in Massachusetts, I started to realize there are some really good coaches, but there are a lot of bad coaches out there. There are a lot.
Yeah, you see some different ones,
and I guess we can like trickle back before we go into like, your 211-32 overall Braintree record. With that being said, high school is in specific, well, here in Connecticut anyways, it's kind of frustrating knowing that the best people don't get the best job, or the best people don't get the head jobs. Because a lot of the times where the head coach at a school is usually the science teacher who enjoys the stipend instead of somebody who is, it could be an assistant coach who has a lot of experience. Those people are taking up a lot of the jobs, and that's the frustrating. I don't know how it is in Massachusetts. I don't know if it's the same thing, but the teachers, everyone who works in the building gets first dibs on being a coach. Is that the same thing in Massachusetts?
It's circumstantial.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say some schools maybe. I think you always get the interview if you're in the school, but I would say it's definitely becoming more where they're looking for the right coach, which is good. And I agree with you though. I think there's so many great assistant coaches out there that don't have the head coaching experience that should get the opportunity. And that probably goes the same for college too. But I just see even my assistant coach, Steve Burrell, is phenomenal. And when he wants that opportunity, he should be plucked up right away, and I hope he would be, but I just think some people you don't have that experience.
And it's the philosophy when you're going to get a job, when you leave school, college and you're going to a job, and it's like, well, how am I supposed to get experience if no one's going to give me a shot?
Give me experience, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
The best way to get experience is to get experience, right?
Right.
So Kristen, the big message, or the big elephant in the room, is we want to know what happened with the transition from Braintree to Northwood.
Norwood, bro.
Sorry, man. What did I say?
Northwood, I don't know.
All right, I wrote it here. I put to Norwood.
Man,
Northwood.
Roxbury, Norwood. We gotta
see.
He's Connecticut.
These out of state guys.
We all got accents in a sense. I just came back from Puerto Rico too. I'm kind of rolling my R's here.
Yeah.
But the transition, yeah. So you left on your own terms, or how did that go?
Yeah, I think after my 8th year at Braintree, I had some parent issues, and then I got too emotionally involved with it and kind of quit, and then came back 3 months later. So it was this crazy ride for a little bit. I just wasn't in a good place. Parents had and very few, you know how it is. It's always a couple people that kind of push you over the edge. But at the time I was still I was taking things too personal, and you just can't in coaching, and I had always been pretty good about you can say whatever you want about me as a coach, but don't attack my character. And so when these people did, I lost my mind on it. I was that's it, this is over. So I was lucky. My AD and I kind of worked something out where I came back. So I never lost time in the program. And then the next 2 years, we were lucky. We got, had some good kids, won a couple more state championships. And then the job opened up at Norwood, and I had always wanted to work and coach in the same school. So it had nothing to do with I wanted, to coach lead girls and coach boys or that kind of thing. It was more just, if the girls' job had opened up at Norwood, I would have gone for it. If the boys' job opened up at Norwood, I was going to go for it. And I had gotten to a point after 10 years of being in one program, I felt so complacent about everything. Things were just coming a little too easy, or you had the youth program set and you were doing some stuff, but I felt I wasn't testing myself anymore. I wasn't reaching a little bit beyond what I was supposed to, and kind of kept going. So I just needed a change. And that's really what it came down to, was hey, I can do this in the same school that I'm obsessed with, in Norwood, and be all in one community. And so was lucky enough to get the job there, and been there for a couple of years. So it's been a great experience. Different.
Yeah.
Definitely different.
I was going to hit on the parent piece. I think that it does suck, because I don't think any job you do, you can't make everybody happy, right? I think that's in anything in life. But I think when I've been an assistant, I've always liked that I don't deal with any parents. I'm just here for basketball. I leave and it's just basketball. I hear about all this stuff, but I'm never the one getting stuff thrown at me. So, how, after that, you said, you learned that you can't really react to it, but I don't know. Well, I would have a tough time.
Well, I had sent an email, so that I got this email. This is how this all happened. I got an email from a parent that kind of ripped me apart. And this was because, you know, the daughter didn't get an award. So this is the kid that played all the time, but didn't get a certain award. And so, and like ended up then, yeah, it's so you never know like what they're gonna, what angle they're gonna go after. And then at the banquet we had the following couple days later had like pretty much come to the banquet and stared me down from the back of the banquet hall. Like I had no idea this was even, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together at the time. And so then when I got the other email, I just like snapped. So I had sent an email. I forwarded that email to all of the varsity parents and pretty much said, I'm done. Like, just so you guys know, this is why I'm done, because this guy's saying pretty much all these things about me and all your daughters, like kind of bashing everybody. I was like, so I'm out, you know, it's not worth it to me. So that was like too much of a quick reaction though. Like would never do that, you know? And in my job as school counselor, like I never sent, you know, I've never sent an email like that back right away and kind of, you know, take a couple days to think about it and how you're going to react and all that. And I just didn't, I just acted on impulse. So that was my like big lesson, was to like, who cares what he thinks, you know, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But it took some serious growth to get to that point.
Yeah. And I actually remember seeing that in the news or something. And this was you know,
Turtle Boy. Yeah. Turtle Boy jumped all over.
Yes.
That guy,
but the funny thing is, actually, when you said the award thing, that's actually happened to me now, being the AD at the Pike School. I've had a parent who was upset and kind of, it was like sort
Maddie,
of, what?
Everyone gets everyone gets an award, bro. Everyone gets, it's all right, bro.
Not
This
in
is
my
how it
world.
works.
You didn't know that?
No, not in my world. But I think I just sent back. I remember I responded, I read it, and I was like, I kind of was mad, but then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna say, I honestly responded and was just like, hey, thank you for this. This will make me a better coach going forward, or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, at the end of the day, it's like you said, what does it matter?
That's the best way to go, because then they're probably like, that will kill that person inside.
Kill them in
because you didn't
kindness.
go back. Yes.
Kill them with kindness.
Right. And that's like 99% of the time I would do that, or either just not respond. And then I think it's even worse for them. Like they're like, what the heck, you know? So, but this time just caught me just on fire.
Do you feel like, because this is my big issue, and like I think philosophy wise, everything, when I was growing up, and I know it's for Julio, and I'm assuming it's for you too, is that we live in a world now where if something bad happens, it's what did the coach do wrong? When I was growing up, I could have been 100% right. My parents would have still said I was wrong, and you should listen to the coach. And it's just not like that anymore. And I have a really hard time with it. Just because it's what I'm grown up with, it's in my DNA. So do you feel like that's,
Same.
part of the problem?
Yeah, it's always, and you hear parents even after like games now, like if I'm, just coaching a younger league team or watching a younger team, like yelling at the refs, pointing fingers at like everybody but the kids, like who can work harder. And no, my parents would never talk to a coach. I mean, ever, ever, ever. And if they ever did, like I'd be mortified, and I'd like yell at them and there would be a fight at home. Like it just doesn't happen. And I don't know if it's now like this switch to AAU has become more of a money maker. So people are putting so much money into AAU. There isn't really like an elite AAU, just elite AAU. So anybody can play, so they're playing AAU, they're dumping tons and tons of money into it. And then when their kids come back to high school, they just expect like that this is going to happen. My kid's still going to be this good because look at what we put into it, and it's not adding up. Like that's not the case.
So and then they have two options. They either complain to you and it's your fault, or we're going to switch schools or something like that.
They switch schools. Yeah. That's the college way right now. To just transfer,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's what, like, even with the college piece, I like tell my kids that are going off to college, like your freshman year, if you play at all, you're doing awesome. Like that's incredible, because freshmen typically aren't going to get a ton of time. Like you learn the ropes, you kind of get settled, you figure out what you can do, play a role a little bit here and there. But I think everybody's immediacy now and lack of patience is like, I'm just going to get to this really good program, in college and play and make an impact. And they have a hard time grinding through that, so they jump ship.
Yeah, because most kids now, it's instant gratification. So if you're not playing right away, they don't want to fight for anything. It's like, why don't you just go to practice every day and fight for that spot? And then when you get it and you have it, don't give it up. And that's kind of the program culture that I think I would want. And, if when I have kids, that's what I would want. I would want them to fight for stuff and earn it, not, just, hey, here you go.
A lot of the parents too are naive though. You mean to tell me that your child is not playing because they're better than the player that's averaging 27 points a game?
Yeah.
That's usually what it is. Like my
Right?
kid should be playing more than that. Well, they're all state and they're going to UConn
Yeah.
and
But you
they
know
should
what's
be playing.
funny? Like I remember my dad telling me one day, and this is when I finally figured it out. I was like, oh, I was in, I was a senior in high school or something, and there was this girl, Brianna Stefferson, who played at Massasoit and then at BC, like nasty. Played from 7th grade to 12th grade, awesome. And my dad compared me to her at the time, and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, no, like she is absolutely nasty. Like, yeah, I was a good player, but like she was a level above. And it was like the first time I realized that I don't think parents can decipher between, like they just have those rose colored glasses and they're just always going to see you in a very different light because that's all they watch, right? Like when they go to the games, they're only watching their kid for the most part. They're not seeing the whole game. But it gets frustrating. Like I would love if parents could take a step back and just enjoy the game, enjoy their kids. And
yeah. And I think some of it too is like the parents, to Julio, you're saying naive. They just, maybe they never had that skill level, or they're just trying to live through their kids instead of just separating and being like, this is my kid, I want to teach him the right things. Because if you treat them a certain way and you baby them and it's everybody else's fault, when they get to the real world you're just screwing them over, because daddy can't come to work, mommy can't come to work and yell at your boss for you.
Right.
I always say
and we
that,
see it in schools, it's like even as a school counselor, like the emails we get are from a lot of times parents. It's not the kids like advocating for themselves. Like the second a kid advocates themselves, I'm like, yep, whatever you want. Like, let's do it. Let's figure it out. It's when the parents are kind of always fighting for them. It's never good.
So just to hit on this, because I think Julio and I are the most interested in this, and I don't know, if there are any other female coaches coaching, varsity boys basketball in the state. If you do know of any, let me know, because I don't know. I think you might be the only one, and I think that's pretty unique and pretty awesome. Talk about the challenges that you faced in your first year at Norwood. And I do want to hit on that you had the best line I've ever heard. And I don't know when I can't remember the sequence of this is. I don't know if it's the first meeting you had with them, and then you wrote, how do you feel about getting some fucking wins this year, is what you said. That's pretty awesome.
As a guidance counselor too. Like,
I would have been jacked up.
Right. Yeah, I'm working on my language skills. That's what my my big thing is. Every season I'm not going to swear, and then like 2 seconds into the first practice I'm like going to start the next season.
Passion.
Yeah. If you drop a swear at the like timely, opportune time, it's like it can be
it's impactful.
Very impactful. Yeah. But I will say, like, it was a big learning curve to go from boys to girls, and I think people try to underestimate that, like, oh, basketball is basketball, and you're just going to jump over, and that's great. And I think in a lot of ways it is. Like, you're still, the X's and O's are similar. You're trying to get them to play the same type of game and the same character piece and intangible stuff. But there's a huge difference between coaching girls and boys. And as you guys probably know, just the psychology alone of girls versus boys, and to generalize, because not everybody fits in these categories, but girls are definitely more emotional, and boys, I think, can be one-on-one, but in their crew and when they're together, they're not as much. And so I just had a little bit, like, my big thing is relationships. Like, that's why we do what we do. So the girls are immediately, right? Like, they just like are attracted immediately to like whatever vibe you're giving off. And the boys, it takes a little bit longer to break down that barrier and to like really get to know them and kind of work that relationship piece. So that took a little bit, and it was more just one-on-one conversations and like, trying to break down that barrier. But even with like the thing I loved about the boys was that it was all like they create their own hierarchy within themselves. So like in girls, a lot of times if you're the cooler one or you're the nice one or the popular one, whatever, that's like their hierarchy, regardless of how great a basketball player you are. On the boys' side, the better basketball player is the highest, so it kind of like, and they naturally, you guys know it more, and you're able to tell each other more where you fall, and that's okay. And I think that's something where the girls would struggle, like you just have to do it a little bit differently in terms of how you let them know things. Where the boys, you can go immediately at kind of where they're at, and they already know it for the most part. they kind of have a pretty good idea because the other kids have told them. So that's really interesting.
That honestly, the way you just broke that down makes so much sense because I've actually coached girls soccer and boys basketball in the same year, and that's literally like spot on. Like I never thought about it like that, but that is pretty spot on.
Yeah,
About
it's
that, how they
like
create
crazy. Oh yeah, it's funny because you'll watch like one of the best girls basketball players, but maybe she's not the best dressed or the coolest in school or whatever, and so she takes a little bit of a hit on that, and you're trying to like, and there's a little bit more stuff going on sometimes within the team, whether it's a little bit more jealousy. But I will say the girls I had were kind of a different breed, like at Braintree. Like these girls were just competitive. They were like into it. I mean, they went after each other in practices in a good way, like they were tough. So maybe my first couple of years dealt with a little bit of that, but for the most part, we were like drama free, at least on the court, And then, but the boys, the one thing I will say with the boys is that the listening skills are a little bit harder to come by. Like, I am not kidding you. If you told a girl to go like, all right, we're going to run this offense. We're going to get to the fifth option. And then you're going to do this, 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 and this. They would get to the fifth option, do this, this, like they just want to do whatever you possibly said. The boys, I could be like, we're going to get to the third option. And they'd get to the first option, like it's just, it's so interesting how many times like I have to say something, or my timeout huddles have changed where I like say what I want them to hear. Then I'll say like quickly some other stuff. And then I have to repeat what I really want them to hear right before they go back on the court and ask them if they know what I'm saying. So they have to almost like repeat it back to me, or else it's like, oh God, just gone,
I got this, coach. I got this figured out, coach.
Right. Well, and they're more in their own head, I think. So on the bench, they're like kind of like matching themselves up with like, well, how did I do when I was out there? Did I not do this? Who was looking at me from the crowd? Who's this? And so they're just, their heads in a different space, where I think the girls are immediately like drawn right to you again, and they'll like follow you, into your death. If that's like, you can lead them anywhere and they're going to come with you. So it's not pros and cons. It's just different, so I think that took like half a season to figure out my first year. And then it's been awesome, like it really has been. And the relationship piece is amazing, and it's all kind of coming together.
To touch on that, Matt, this is a fun fact for you guys, just in case you're wondering. Whenever I look for X's and O's, or I'm looking for different sets or just trying to improve my playbook as a coach, I watch NCAA women's basketball because, like you said, I think the attention to detail when running sets, or whenever you're trying to accomplish a second or third option in a set, I think the girls or the women, I think they run it more effectively. I think they have it more of a sense of what you're trying to get out of this set, because like you said, once you get to the first or second option, it becomes either a hang dribble 35 footer, or I'm going to try to get to the cup and draw a foul or something like that. So it's interesting that you say that. I applaud you on that. And I look at it that way too. So Maddie, if you need more sets from me, you just watch UConn. If you just watch Gino, watch his stuff.
Yeah.
To question in regards to just your philosophy with the boys now, have you had any kids kind of challenge you in your first couple of years in regards to like your knowledge or your skill to the game?
No.
Because if I'm a high school kid, I'm probably being extremely just immature and saying, okay, this is a woman coaching me, and I can kind of try to get pull a fast one on her, or just feel like I know more or something like that. Did that ever happen to you, or no?
No, I was, like I said, like, I mean, the kids that I got my first couple of years were these 2 years were amazing. Like everything I said they got. I think in the first year too, you go out of your way to make sure they know, your stuff. So like, I broke down everything, from film and like things. So when you're talking to them, it's not that you're just trying to get them to understand like what they need to work on. A part of you is letting them know, like, what you're doing, and I think probably as a woman, you have to do that more than if you're walking in as a guy and coaching guys. But I think after that initial piece where they like get that, what you're doing, then they're fine with whatever. And then like this past year was amazing. Like no one even remotely questioned, it's even the first year, like they just kind of go with it. It's been great.
Especially coaching through COVID. That must be fun, but Anybody that got through that, you're a
Right?
trooper in my book. We don't want to keep it for that much longer. So I have one more question. Julio, I don't know how many more you got, but what? So
We're going to the who what? Sorry.
okay. I'm just curious what, like, whether it was at Braintree, whether it was at Norwood, what is like a typical practice look like for you? Like, what do you like to get done in a practice?
Yeah, I think everything is very intentional for like the time. That's what I'd say I've definitely improved on over the years. Is like where before it's like drills and everything I do now has a point, like a big time point, you know. And so we'll start off with a lot of team stuff just because you want to bring everybody together. So we don't do a lot of individual things, if at all, but definitely right away. We bring a ton of energy right away. So we're on them from the start in terms of like clapping if they don't have a ball and yelling and getting into it. Like to do a couple like tough drills right at the beginning to get them going. So they're like in each other's shirts, kind of pushing, getting physical. And then it sets the tone for the rest of the practice, you know? And so then we're doing tons of 3-on-3, tons of 4-on-4 stuff, but everything is really competitive. You know, even like shooting drills are really competitive. Free throws are competitive. Like, so there's a winner to everything we do. And then I would say like towards the end, and this is where I've gotten a lot better, I think, is where we scrimmage a lot more during the practice now. So it's 5-on-5, like right away, you know, instead of waiting, where I feel like a lot of teams, and I used to do the same thing. It's like you wait for that last 15-20 minutes to finally get to play 5-on-5, but yet that's the whole game. You know what I mean? That's everything that they're going to be doing and you're trying to get them ready for. So why not inject that earlier into your practices? So we do a ton of that. Like we'll do 3-on-3 breakdowns of sets. Then we'll take the shots that they're going to be doing in that set so they get used to it. And then we play 5-on-5 immediately, you know, and just kind of like quick games, boom, 5-on-5, you're running this play. And then we go to the next one and the next one, you know. And I think that's given it a little bit more fluidity to the practice and they can see. And this is like, I even know as a player, I would struggle sometimes to be like, why am I doing this drill? And how is this going to apply to this specific spot? And now I can feel like I can take like, you just did this and this to improve that shot within this option of our offense. And now we're going to put it into practice, you know, into like real play.
It's just like it's a philosophy change, right? You said it the best. When we were playing and growing up playing in practices, it was like 2-hour practice and everything was a drill. Freaking Julio, you remember, shell for 35 minutes. And then it's like, we finally get to play, but I'm already exhausted and mentally drained because for an hour and 45, I've been doing these drills that didn't make any sense.
Yep. And 70% of your game is going to be like fast break anyway, right? So then you're like, you know, 60-70%. And then, but you're working on these like half court sets for like the majority of your practice instead of working on fast break. What do you do when it's 4-on-2, 4-on-3, 4-on-1, 3, you know, like those kind of things. So, I've definitely shifted over the last probably like 4 or 5 years.
It's formula. I call it formula. Like the philosophy, like with the formula, it's the same formula. You just add to the formula or you change the formula. It's all the same.
Exactly.
But
do you guys do similar stuff during your practices?
I think I'm the way you described it. I'm more like you now, where I like to inject. I think the first part you said is spot on to what I believe in. Everything is competitive, because it weeds out the kids that don't want to be competitive. And I just know you're not going to play for me if you're not competitive, because everything has to be. It's Santa Cola, our college coach, used to say, and I still to this day, it's the two dog, one bone theory. What dog are you? Because only one dog is getting that bone. So I want to know who those dogs are. But yeah, I like to be competitive. I like to obviously do some breakdown drills, but it can't be breakdown drill. It has that you have to play. You have to play at some level. So to Julio's point, formula, right? You're just mixing and matching what you're doing. But I think you have to play more. You have to keep kids engaged, because I just know how I was as a player. If I'm not playing or I'm not being competitive, I'm checking out.
Yeah, exactly.
But even in those drills that you're doing skill stuff and you're breaking down stuff, I feel like the competitive piece for the kids that we can all emphasize is how hard are you going? A competitive spirit within yourself. Like I call out kids all the time in our practices because I'm an assistant coach and, you know, I try to play the good guy role. But whenever we get into competitive stuff or even just skill stuff, coming off curls, you know, making backdoor cuts, it's all right. Is that cut hard enough? Or do you honestly, are you telling yourself, is this realistic? Me dribbling at you, like, what are we doing? You sitting behind and shooting a 3, or you cutting hard backdoor? You have to kind of, it's like you said, a game within a game. How hard are you really going? That's my big thing with practices and culture building.
I try not to call out kids more. I'm like you. I
No,
gotta sweat my language, 1 and 2. Like I gotta remember sometimes they're kids, but I like to just jump on some kids sometimes. Like 2 minutes in, and I'm just like, all right, I gotta reset the tone because I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah. How did you walk? How did you walk into the gym? Did it take you forever to take off your Crocs? Did it take you?
Right.
Did you get it right into the mic and drill? Or was your first shot from half court? Like that's the mindset that you start thinking about for kids this age, because it's instant gratification. It's what they see on the internet. You guys want to see the guy jumping out the gym and scoring 35 and watching LeBron James play online, but those kids already did the work and they're already 6'3", 6'4".
To that point, that's another big difference between girls and boys, I think, was when I jumped, like my first year, last year in Norwood, we would have some players that would do these like step back threes or cross someone and someone would fall. And then like the whole gym and everybody would go crazy. And then my kid would like brick a layup, and I'm like, what the hell just happened right there? Like, so I'd like call a timeout immediately and be like, never let that happen again. If anybody is going to like fall down on you and you don't go by and make an easy layup, like then you're on the bench forever. Like, I don't care if the crowd's going crazy, just make the damn shot, So that was a little bit of that NBA mindset too, that you're trying to get out of their heads.
Social media.
It's social media. It's social media. I've had a kid on the bench. We were on defense and the kid got shook a little bit. And the kid on my own bench made a noise. I was like, I called a timeout. I said, if anybody ever does that, I'm going to ask you to leave the building.
Yes.
It's our own team. And who cares? The guy didn't score.
Right. The best is that I started knowing that for especially the guys game, like they only watch NBA, right? Like very few of them even watch college basketball, which is like so crazy to me. So now I've been taking things offline. Like, I'm like, all right, you know what? Let's look at LeBron's 1 hour individual workout, right? Like how crazy he goes and how intense he is and whatever. And I'll send that to my guys. I'm like, all right, so you're seeing all this glory, but here's what he's doing in the background. And you can get him for any player in the NBA when you Google them. And I'm like, oh, you talk about Curry here. Like, let's look at his hour-long workout. You go do this at a court as many times as he's doing it, and then get back to me with like your, crossover, step back, whatever. Like, and then we're good. But it's like the first time I think they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll go down the courts and just do this instead, because they're not relating to college kids or other really good high school players like they are the NBA.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Instant gratification. They're seeing what they're seeing.
Yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Kristen, we would love obviously to talk all day. We can do this. Me and Maddie just, we just talk basketball all day. And I know you have a dog and a family to attend to. So we have this last segment of our pod where we kind of just ask who or what, and you kind of answer with your best, quickest answer that you could possibly think of. It's a little random. It's all over the place. So again, just say whatever at the top of your head. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So who, what is the name of the game? So first question is, who is your favorite actor?
That's a good question.
See, random.
That is like, wow. Like, I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, I told you.
So what's so crazy is the first person was Ben Stiller that came to my mind. Ben Stiller. Like,
I love Ben Stiller. What is your favorite post-game routine? So what are you doing after a game?
What am I doing now? I'm going out with my staff. And we are grabbing some dinner, having a drink, and just talking about the game and breaking it down.
I love that. Who is your favorite? This is a 2-part question. Who's your favorite WNBA player and NBA player?
Ooh, I'd say Sue Bird, like 100%.
UConn.
Yeah, Sue Bird still is like number 1. And I would go NBA, like of all time, I'd go Nash. Would be my guy, Steve Nash.
All right. So when you hear this pod, I think it's going to come out Tuesday. When you hear this pod, listen to the whole thing. We have an introduction, obviously, and we talk about the top 5 point guards of all time.
Yes.
Okay. Steve Nash in it?
He's not in my top 5.
Is Steve Nash in it? Is he in yours?
Mine? Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
100%. Yeah.
Is Chris Paul in yours?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Did you not have? Yeah, I have Chris Paul.
Yes.
Okay, I guess.
Big fan.
There we go.
What is your favorite or go-to, or what was your go-to pump-up song before games?
I would say Enter Sandman by Metallica.
Okay,
Jam.
Metallica.
Yeah.
I like Metallica.
Yeah.
That'll get me going. Who is the person? This is the last question. Who is the person you go to for advice?
Trish Brown, my college basketball coach.
Oh, she's still over
awesome.
there. She's still at Stonehill?
She's still at Stonehill. Yeah, she's
Wow.
a legend there. She played at Harvard. She's awesome.
I got one question just because we're both Massachusetts people. What's your like favorite Massachusetts spot? Maybe it's like a hidden gem kind of spot, like you got to go to.
Ooh, like restaurant?
Any like it could be a beach. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Any
Yeah.
spot that like what's your go-to? Like what do you look?
Yeah, I'm a big like South Shore person. Like I go down the South Shore for beaches. But in Boston, I would say I'm a big Corb pub person
I like that.
Okay.
for my food and occasional beverage.
Is Bo Loco just a Massachusetts thing?
No, Boloco, bro.
Is it Boloco? Is that a Massachusetts thing?
I don't know. I've never heard of that.
It's starting to cut. It's like more North Shore. There's some
Is
in the
it?
North.
Okay.
There's some in Boston too, but I brought Julio to it once. That's why he brings it up. Boloco.
It's equivalent to Chipotle. I'm a huge Chipotle.
Oh,
fan,
okay.
that's why.
Okay. What's your place, Matt, up in North?
So right now, I'm living in Ipswich, but I work at the Pike School in Andover. So, it's North Shore area. I'm actually, like I said, I'm from Westport, so South Coast. Grew up down in Fall River area, so that's where I go. That's where the roots are from. But if you ever want to go to a good beach, you go down there. Not really Horseneck, but like
Yeah.
it's a little packed over there. You got to go to the private beach or the Cherry and Webb is the town beach, but good beaches down there. But what beach like do you if you're a South Shore, what beach is that? Like
I go down. I go to the Marshfield one a lot.
Okay.
I don't even know the name of it. Actually,
Yeah.
I
You
just like.
don't have to
my
be a
friend-
resident.
No, well, my friend lives down there, so I park and walk out.
Okay.
So it's easy,
Okay.
but I have no idea what the name is. It's really good.
I just want to say, since you two are Massachusetts and you guys don't really realize it, but I appreciate both of your accents during this pod. Like I see it, I hear it, and I want it, but I just can't have it. So.
Yeah. You're so close, but so far away. Man, it's so funny because I don't even recognize it all. Like I just,
I love it.
Snap.
I love it. Kristen, thank you for your time. We appreciate you. Hopefully down the road we can all kind of collaborate and have a meeting of the mind somewhere down in Massachusetts. Maybe at Bo Loco, who knows? Maybe at the beach,
Right?
maybe at the beach, maybe wherever you guys. A pub, I'm ready.
The pub. Let's go.
Thank you for your time. We appreciate you a lot.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. This was awesome.
Hey, just stay true to yourself. And if nobody wanna help you, you can do it yourself. And if you live and impress others, it's how you losing yourself. And if you keep on running back, you just abusing yourself. Damn. I pray to God that you find your way. And when times is good, don't forget to pray. And be thankful for all the blessings that seem to come your way, cause that's how more come to you. That's all I had to say.